Welcome back to my channel. Today we're diving into some of Meg's wildest episodes. Eve, get ready for a roller coaster of surprises, from her unexpected crush on her dad's best friend Joe to the jaw-dropping twist of surrogacy. Let's jump right in. Meg's crush on Brian, Season 5, Episode 8. She returns home feeling sad and crying. When Brian asks her what's wrong, she reveals that her school is hosting a dance on Friday night, but no one wants to go with her, not even her pretend boyfriend.
Hang on. I'd love to go, Meg, but I have to go to my little brother's funeral that night.
Brian comforts Meg, telling her she'll find someone suitable, but Meg insists she can't because she sees herself as fat and disgusting. Brian tries to soothe her, but it only makes her cry harder, and she even contemplates self-harm. Meg runs to find a knife, scaring Brian, who then makes her an offer.
Brian, will you go with me?
Are you gonna kill yourself if I don't?
Yeah.
Well, then my hands are pretty much tied.
Oh, Brian, thank you. Oh, I have to buy a new dress. All the ones I have make me look fat.
Oh.
That evening, Brian, dressed in a sharp suit, drinks a few sips of alcohol to prepare for the dance with Meg. Lois thanks Brian for spending time with Meg, while Stewie scatters flowers on the stairs for Meg to descend like a beautiful princess.
Here she is. Brian, I present to you your polished turd for the evening.
How do I look, Brian?
You sure do, Meg. FYI, the carpet matches the drapes in color and length.
At the dance, before getting out of the car, Brian takes a sip of alcohol to steady his nerves. Inside, a romantic song plays, and Meg wants to dance with Brian. During the dance, Brian keeps drinking and gets drunk. When they sit on the steps, Brian is no longer sober and starts rambling. Meg directly asks if he's drinking because he doesn't want to be there. Brian denies it, but both Meg and the audience know what he's thinking. Connie approaches and mocks Meg, saying dogs aren't allowed and that Meg can leave, but Brian can stay. Brian, angry, stands up for Meg, saying Connie developed early and used her body at age 12.
You're popular because you developed early and started putting out when you were 12, but now you can't stand to look at yourself in the mirror because all you see is a whore. So you pick on Meg to avoid the inevitable realization that once your body's used up by age 19...
Meg feels great because no one has ever stood up for her like that. Brian says it's no big deal and that she doesn't deserve to be bullied. Meg is very happy and thanks Brian, and they hug.
Sorry, that was the booze, not you. You gonna eat that?
The next morning, Stewie wants Brian to recount what happened at the dance, but Meg appears, pats Brian's head, and greets him warmly. Meg says she had a great time last night and invites Brian for coffee. Stewie notices Meg seems to like Brian more, so he teases Brian, who tells him to shut up.
Well, she seems to have taken a shine to you, Brian. With a little encouragement, you might get her to put her cankles behind her ears. Stewie, shut up.
At that moment, Brian receives a message. After seeing Meg's message, Stewie concludes something happened last night. Brian can't hide it anymore and reveals to Stewie that he kissed Meg at the dance. Stewie feels this is a bigger win than when the Emperor discovered the perfect dialogue formula for Star Wars.
Something, dark side. Something, complete.
Meg continues to approach Brian, calling him honey and saying she always thinks about the kiss last night, complimenting Brian's straight and wide tongue. Brian is uncomfortable but endures it. Meg continues talking about how he stood up for her at the dance, saying it was wonderful and affirming they could become a couple. Brian tries to lie, saying he's gay, but Meg doesn't care and invites him to shop for new lingerie. Just then, Chris returns, saving Brian, who uses the excuse of having plans with Chris to decline her.
What you usually do on a Thursday afternoon.
Masturbate?
That's it. That's what we're gonna do together.
Well, maybe back to back, but I gotta tell you, I'm not 100% on this.
Lois supports Meg and Brian going to the mall, saying she's surprised they became closer after the dance. Meg intends to tell Lois about the kiss, but Brian stops her, saying they'll decide to be best friends and takes her out.
Come on, let's go to the mall. We'll get you a big old pretzel. I want a pretzel too!
Brian, I'm ready! You in or out?
At the mall, Meg wants to hold Brian's hand, but he refuses. She then introduces Brian to her friends, who comment that Brian looks like Ben Affleck and ask how they met. Brian says he's Meg's dad's friend. One of Meg's friends says he's old, while the other 3 find him cute. Meg says Brian is her first serious boyfriend.
Brian's the first serious boyfriend I've ever had.
Meg, can I talk to you for a second?
Brian explains he has a girlfriend, Jillian, and they can only be friends. Meg says she understands and lets Brian go, but she thinks he's joking and is determined to win his love.
What's that, Brian? Oh, you were just kidding. Oh, I know you were. I love you too, Brian. And you love me. You do love me, Brian.
Back home, Meg pretends to be fine and thanks Brian for being honest, even baking him a cake. Brian thanks her, eats the cake, and compliments its taste, asking what's inside.
My hair is in the pie, Brian. And now it's inside of you. Part of me is inside of you, Brian. Do you feel me, Brian? Do you feel me inside of you?
Feeling uneasy, Brian talks to Lois about the issue with Meg. Lois says Meg has locked herself in her room all day, and she doesn't know what she's doing up there. Brian says Meg has a crush on him, and things have gotten out of control. Lois thinks Meg is just grateful Brian took her to the dance, but Brian insists it's more than that. Hesitating, he admits he kissed Meg deeply at the dance, making Lois angry. Lois demands he go to Meg's room immediately to resolve this, saying it's worse than the time Brian ate gum from the trash.
Brian, did you get into the garbage last night?
No. Why?
Don't lie to me, Brian.
I'm not lying.
Brian goes to Meg's room, finds the door open, and discovers Meg has prepared a gift for him. Brian says he came with the help of the school's principal for the deaf, Garrett Morris, declaring that he and Meg are not boyfriend and girlfriend and that he is never attracted to her.
You're acting like a psycho bitch.
You're acting like a psycho bitch!
I won't be ignored, Brian.
I like your ass.
The next morning, Meg tricks Brian with a bag of food, creating a noise to attract him, then knocks him out and takes him away. The next day, Lois worries because she can't find Brian and Meg, and Chris reveals he saw Meg tie Brian up and put him in the trunk of her car. Lois realizes the truth that Meg has a crush on Brian and calls for everyone to find them. At a hotel, Meg had tied Brian up like a mummy and exclaimed that tonight was going to be a blast. It was hard to believe Brian had gotten himself into such a mess. He could only sit there and endure as Meg prepared to unleash her fun.
Oh, just relax. We're gonna be here for a while.
Well, I don't know if... Wait, what?
We're gonna be here for a while.
A while?
Yeah, a while.
You mean a while?
A while.
A while.
Suddenly, Lois and Peter, along with a friend, burst through the door, ordering everyone to freeze. Peter and his friend were clueless about what was happening.
Yeah, Brian, you're doing the same thing that Mia Farrow did to that Oriental guy that Woody Allen brought home from the circus.
And relentlessly blamed Brian until Lois stepped in, promising to explain everything later. Lois approached Meg, urging her to let Brian go, but Meg stubbornly insisted that she loved Brian too much to let him go.
Mom, I love him!
Honey, you're just confused.
I'm not confused! I've never been more certain about anything in my life! I need him!
With no clear way to make Meg understand, they decided to call in their expert Quagmire, who had a plan. He gifted her a book, hoping it would help resolve the situation.
He let me know that as long as I kept on rolling, I'd find that one person who would make me whole.
Thanks, Mr. Quagmire.
Oh, you don't have to thank me. Now get on out of here, you little scamp.
In Season 9, Episode 12, Meg falls in love with Joe. You can imagine how crazy this sounds, right? Let me tell you the whole story. On a beautiful day, Bonnie asks Lois to look after Susie and Joe while she visits her father in the hospital.
I was hoping that while I was gone, you could look in on Susie and Joe.
And go have sex with Quagmire.
Quagmire!
Oh, shucks, you can't blame a guy for trying. Giggity, giggity, giggity.
Lois agrees, but then lies to Meg, saying Bonnie asked her to look after Susie and Joe. Meg refuses and asks why it should be her. Lois persuades her by saying Bonnie likes her because she's as pretty as Rachel Maddow.
Who's Rachel Maddow?
A model?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, I'll do it.
Meg goes to Joe's house just as he's practicing police entrances.
Drop it, creepo. Don't move, Catherine Deneuve. Freezerino, Paul Sorvino.
She tells him she's there to help take care of him and Susie. When Joe asks if she has experience with people with special needs, Meg says she used to work with the old lady at the end of the street.
Would you see if I'm getting a bed sore on my back?
Sure. Looks fine to me, ma'am.
Thank you, dear. I must have just slept on it wrong.
I stole Meg's cutaway.
After a few days of taking care of Joe, Meg does a great job, and Joe thanks her, even apologizing for biting her.
That's okay. I guess now I know not to get too close to your bowl, right?
Well, yeah. I know you're not trying to hurt me, but part of me doesn't know.
When Meg misses the bus to school, Joe drives her. On the way, Joe asks about her studies and if the Puerto Rican bullies still bother her. Meg doesn't know about the bullies until Joe says, "You're welcome," suggesting he dealt with them for her. Joe tells Meg to hold on tight as they approach a red light.
Oh, hang on, there's a red light. Gotta hit the brakes.
Joe, clueless about pop culture, thinks people Meg's age admire Nick Cage and asks her who Lady Gaga is.
Hey, can you tell me what Lady Gaga is? Is that a band, or a soda, or a store, or one of those terms like donkey punch?
No.
Is it a douche?
Seeing the challenges of a paralyzed person driving, Meg starts to care and asks about Joe's difficulties. Joe shares a few struggles, like not being able to go on picnics, but insists he's happy and positive about his condition. As they reach the school, Meg is surprised Joe drives her all the way, unlike others who drop her off a block away to avoid being seen with her. This impresses Meg, and she starts to have a crush on Joe.
Hey, who's that? Your boyfriend?
Yeah. Yeah, that's my boyfriend.
Meg cares for Joe and Susie like a wife, arriving early to prepare breakfast. Joe thanks her for her kindness, and Meg replies cryptically, saying she wants to look hot in Susie's eyes and calls Joe by his first name.
How are your eggs, Joe? If he doesn't say anything about me calling him Joe, that means we're truly in love.
She just called me Joe. That's kind of weird.
Joe thinks Meg is mistaken, but she believes he reciprocates her feelings and calls him Joe again.
You're welcome, Joe.
Ah, I should have said something.
He let me say it twice now. It's like we're married.
This is Patrick Stewart. How are you liking the program so far?
At night, Meg wears a dress similar to Bonnie's and calls Joe darling, surprising him, but she quickly corrects herself, saying she's just greeting him normally. Joe asks if she's wearing Bonnie's clothes, and Meg explains Susie vomited on hers, so she wore Bonnie's and hopes it's okay. Joe says it's fine, but feels uneasy. Meg tries to lighten the mood by handing Joe some juice he needs.
Oh.
What's wrong?
Oh, nothing. It's just that I like to put the straw in myself.
Oh, I'm sorry. Here.
Yeah, it's not the same now. I'll just get another one.
Bonnie calls to check on things, reporting that her father is doing well and she'll be home tomorrow morning. Joe asks Meg who called, and she replies it was a prank call.
Who is this?
Wheelie, stupid head. Bet you wish that you were dead.
Listen, I don't know who this is, but you better cut it out. I'm a cop, you know.
Oh, what, are you gonna report me on your can't walkie-talkie?
Meg starts going too far. Fearing Bonnie's return, she does something drastic. Early that morning, she sneaks into Joe's room, steals his gun, and drives to the airport to plant it in Bonnie's bag to get her arrested.
I'm gonna have to place you under arrest.
Oh my goodness, how did that get in there?
You're gonna have to come with us, ma'am.
What happened to the Coke?
There's no Coke in here.
Oh, Ricardo's gonna kill me.
That evening, Joe takes Meg to dinner to thank her for taking care of him and Susie. Meg is thrilled and asks if Joe ever thought about having another child. Joe responds he's open to the idea, which excites Meg, who says she'll stop taking her medication, referring to birth control. Joe is shocked and asks what medication she means, and Meg quickly covers, saying she's just confused, maybe because she's about to get her period.
So I'll get off the pill.
Well, what do you mean?
Nothing, forget it. I think I'm just a little scattered tonight. I'm probably just PMSing.
Oh, grody.
Joe starts to feel uneasy about Meg's behavior and asks her what's going on. Meg begins to act erratically, speaking incoherently, and behaving as if she's Joe's actual wife, making him uncomfortable and unsure of her intentions. Their argument causes Susie to cry, shocking Joe further.
Oh, God! Oh!
This feels right, but it tastes like a dirty penny.
The next morning, Joe visits Peter and tells him Meg has a crush on him. Peter and Lois laugh, thinking Joe is joking. Joe explains Meg was once infatuated with Brian and might do the same with him, but Peter disagrees, saying Meg likes dogs, not disabled people. Joe feels insulted, but calmly suggests he might have misread Meg's signals and leaves.
Excuse me, Lois, I have to go make a phone call. Hey, wheelie stupid head, I heard you think Meg likes you.
Who is this? How are you getting this information?
Noticing Meg's strange behavior, Lois asks her directly if she has a crush on Joe. Meg admits she feels happy around Joe and thinks he needs her. Lois tells Meg she's deluding herself, saying it's just the Florence Nightingale syndrome because she cared for Joe and mistakenly feels close to him, confusing it with love. Lois says Meg and Joe have nothing in common. Meg, interpreting this negatively, considers paralyzing herself to have something in common with Joe.
Meg, what the hell did you do?
I made us the same, Joe. We're exactly alike, you and I. Now we can be together.
At the hospital, the doctor reassures Meg she's fine. Realizing her mistake and foolishness, Meg apologizes to Joe and Bonnie. Deciding to stay in Russia in season 21, episodes 19 and 20, Meg helps Brian and Stewie track down a hacker in Chelyabinsk, Russia. They decide to fly there together to restore Brian's Instagram account.
We're here to find the hacker that
stole your Instagram, yes. Enjoy 10 square kilometers of country that don't make Geiger counter go beep, beep, beep. Hey! It's that way.
There they meet a hacker named Ivan, who quickly starts flirting with Meg.
You are like big, beautiful nesting doll that holds other dolls inside.
You really mean that?
Duh. You are the outside one because it has to fit all the other ones.
Ivan reveals that his life at home is bleak, and he hacked Brian's Instagram to feel like he's living a good American life.
He has 5 followers.
While the trio achieves their goal, Stewie and Brian are shocked when Meg decides to stay with Ivan. She explains that she loves Russia for encouraging women to embrace their natural body hair and for letting her eat vegetables straight from the ground without being involuntarily committed.
When Ivan made love to me,
Please stop.
he said, Meg Griffin, you have strong hunches like horse. How sweet is that? I'm an 8 in Russia, Brian.
Brian says the family will miss Meg and calculates the cost of the trip, realizing it might be the last time they see her. As Stewie and Brian argue over the trip costs, Meg slips away.
No way, Meg, wouldn't you call that a personal... Oh, she's gone. Yep. Guess we're covering her neck pillow, huh?
Back home, Brian and Stewie wonder what Meg's been up to in Russia. Meg is thriving in her new life, working at a bot farm, singing in Russian as she wanders the fields, meeting countless drunk men, and even encountering a space dog.
Have a great day at work, space dog.
There goes that Meg, she is so dense and sturdy, pumped out for winter like a seal.
She joyfully sings with everyone and once climbs to the top of a nuclear reactor to sing, only to fall when the space dog returns. Returning home, Ivan asks if she enjoys working at the bot farm. Meg enthusiastically says yes, sharing how she convinced a group of moms that diapers cause autism, and they then enjoyed a hearty lunch together.
Ah, my darling has appetite of Siberian walrus and is just as fragrant.
Meg still misses parts of her old life. As she posts on Instagram about missing American cheeseburgers, a tranquilizer dart suddenly hits her neck, knocking her out. Ivan rushes out to see who attacked her, but the assailants flee, stating that President Putin won't tolerate even the mildest criticism.
You need to drive slower, man. I don't think he heard the end of my threat.
Well, maybe your threat should be more succinct.
Well, maybe you should call our boss Papa again.
It was mistake. One time I do this.
At the hospital, Meg wakes up and learns that the state monitors all social media posts, especially those criticizing Russian life.
It's true. You see, President Putin can be very sensitive.
She thanks Ivan for taking care of her and worries about the hospital bill, but Ivan tells her treatment is free, assuming it's the same in the US, leaving Meg speechless.
God bless. Sweet home.
Ivan takes Meg camping in a cemetery, confusing her. Ivan somberly explains that the cemetery is special and points to 2 nearby graves, saying Meg is finally meeting his parents.
Your parents are dead? Oh, Ivan, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. They died peacefully being ripped apart by dogs.
After worrying about Meg's health, Ivan refuses to be apart from her and proposes with a ring taken from his mother's grave.
What do you say, Meg? Will you make me happiest man in all of Russia? Which is admittedly a very low bar.
Oh, Ivan, yes, yes, yes!
I've never seen Meg so happy, her eyes filled with joy. They wear brown outfits and take serious wedding photos.
I cannot wait to etch this picture of you into hideous black gravestone.
Which background you want? Frozen tundra or leaky reactor?
A reactor, please.
Don't know why I offered tundra. Nobody choose.
At the church, the priest begins their wedding ceremony by reading an Orthodox prayer.
And Jesus said to Mikhail, "The radio you sold me last week does not work." Mikhail said to him, "How do I know you didn't break it on purpose to get your money back?" Then they got in a fist fight on the bus. Amen.
Amen. After finishing, the priest mistakenly declares that Ukraine is actually part of Russia.
I now pronounce Ukraine actually part of Russia. And I also pronounce you husband and wife. You may share a joyless kiss.
However, when Meg laments her family's absence from the wedding, Ivan suggests they visit the US to say a proper goodbye. But when Meg tries to call her family, her phone has no signal, so she uses Ivan's. As she steps outside to call her family, she overhears her husband gloating about using her to get a green card for the US.
Ah, so you got green card marriage, huh?
That's right. American cow fell for it. Here's to my last night in Russia.
Oh my God.
In revenge, Meg uses Ivan's social media accounts to post tweets criticizing the Russian lifestyle, leading to Ivan being thrown to his death before she leaves. Meg marries a gay man in season 19, episode 6. The principal thanks everyone for helping decorate the school for the fall dance. Meg's friends is super excited to have a date for the dance.
I'm pretty sure Bobby and I are finally gonna do it after the dance.
You're gonna have sex?
I'm talking about our suicide pact.
Oh my God, I was like, who is this girl?
Patty asks Meg if she has a date, and Meg sadly admits she's not going because no one invited her. Patty, who was asked to the dance by a janitor, tells Meg she can come with them, but Meg says the janitor doesn't count as a date. Patty decides not to go with him anymore, leaving him to contemplate. At the bowling alley, Bruce greets Meg, and she genuinely enjoys being there.
Hey, hey, it's the Megalodon!
Bruce Almighty! What it look like, boy?
Bruce asks if she's going to the dance, and Meg, feeling down, says she's not in the mood to go, but in reality, no one wants to go with her. To cheer her up, Bruce offers to take her out for dinner after his shift. During dinner, Bruce expresses his sorrow at seeing Meg bullied at school. Meg thanks Bruce and says she never feels she belongs there, and even home feels like hell. Bruce agrees, sharing that his parents don't understand him, always asking when he'll get a girlfriend or when he'll get married. They find common ground, making Meg feel like they're dating, and Bruce doesn't object, causing Meg to genuinely like him.
Guess who has a boyfriend? Come on.
Hey, y'all.
Hi.
Meg immediately introduces Bruce to her family. Chris and Brian are shocked by her choice because they know Bruce is gay and 50 years old.
Isn't that like a 50-year-old gay guy?
Chris!
Yeah, Stewie, isn't Bruce gay? How should I know, man? I should be the one asking you that.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Lois and Peter try to stay calm and ask Bruce where he lives. He mentions that he lives in an eccentric purple house at the corner of the street, surrounded by trees like in a desert.
Hey, Boo, we should probably get going.
Where are you two lovebirds off to?
The waxing place. Bruce is getting a treatment. I'm just getting an estimate from my team.
Oh, gross.
Lois can't understand why Meg chose to date a gay man. Peter reassures Lois, saying it's not too bad because both of them are happy.
It really such a bad thing, Lois? I mean, they're having fun with each other. Speaking of having fun, what do you say you and I do a little of the old, huh?
The next morning, Lois tries to talk to Meg about Bruce, asking if she hasn't noticed he's a bit different. Meg doesn't get what her mom means until Lois shows her a film about a gay man pursuing love and insists Bruce is the same. But Meg disagrees, saying he works at Lush, a cosmetics company with 10 female employees, so he's definitely straight. Whoa, Meg is adorably clueless. Lois tries to explain, but Meg refuses to listen, saying she'll defend her love.
Oh, I know what you're trying to do. Pathetic little Meg is happy for once, and you just can't take it. And I get it, okay? You're in a miserable marriage, so why would you want anyone else to be happy?
She points out Lois's own marriage is pathetic, making Lois angry, claiming she and Peter are madly in love. Just then, Peter walks in asking for a first aid kit, and we have a funny moment where he takes it to work, so people think he's successful.
Hold the elevator! Hold the elevator! Sorry. Can someone push any button, please? I don't work here. I'm just being silly.
At the bowling alley, Meg is genuinely happy, winning every game. Bruce compliments her, saying she's the prettiest tonight. Lois calls, but Meg ignores it, thinking her mom is trying to interfere with their love. Bruce, on the other hand, announces he has a girlfriend to his family, and they're ecstatic. His parents are visiting the town tomorrow, and Bruce has something important to ask Meg before they arrive.
Meg Harvey Oswald Griffin, will you?
Hey, hi. So, I told you about 10 minutes ago something's wrong with 14?
Yep, somebody's working on it, sir.
Dad, what's going on?
This sucks. I want to go home.
This customer is unable to take care of her two mischievous children, so she needs Bruce's help, but unfortunately, he is busy proposing to Meg.
Dad, Tyson spilled fruit punch on me.
No, I didn't.
Dad!
Back home, Lois plans to apologize to Meg for opposing her love for Bruce, but Meg dismisses it, announcing they're engaged, shocking Lois.
Are engaged?
What?
Engaged? No daughter of mine is getting married at 18. I forbid it. Forbidden!
Lois expresses her frustration to Peter about Meg marrying an obviously gay man. Peter thinks Lois is being dramatic like her mother, but she genuinely worries this marriage will bring them pain. Peter disagrees, asking what the best possible future for someone like Meg is. Maybe marrying someone like Bruce will give her experiences and happiness in life.
It's gonna be all right.
No, it's not gonna be all right. It's never gonna be all right again if they go through with this. Peter, we gotta do...
Get a hold of yourself, woman. She's coming downstairs.
Well, there's the bride-to-be.
Lois reluctantly agrees, apologizes to Meg for bad-mouthing Bruce, and if Meg loves him, her parents will support her 100%. They agree to attend dinner to meet Bruce's parents, making Meg happy and hugging them. Lois is glad to see Meg smile like that again, not since she appeared in that music video.
Black hole sun, won't you come?
At the dinner, everyone happily discusses the upcoming wedding. Bruce makes a subtle comment, saying it will be a heterosexual marriage as everyone wants. To celebrate, Peter wants champagne.
Sir? Excuse me, sir? Ugh, this waiter is terrible. Finally, we would like your finest champagne and your longest fork and knife, please.
He becomes the center of attention with his antics.
So, Phil, what line of work are you in? Oh, what did you order? Mind?
The next morning, the wedding takes place at the church. Meg looks beautiful in her white wedding dress, and Lois compliments her, though she thinks differently but wants to make Meg happy.
5 minutes, honey. The Schropniks made it all the way in from Colorado. How about that?
Peter walks Meg down the aisle, reminding her to greet the Schropniks, who traveled far to be there.
Say hi to the Schropniks. They came a long way.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for coming all this way.
From Colorado, where we live.
The priest begins the ceremony, and Bruce's parents are overjoyed to see their son get married. But Jeffrey, Bruce's longtime boyfriend, is sad. When the priest asks if anyone objects to this union, Meg looks into Bruce's eyes, then at her family, and finally sees Jeffrey crying. She decides to oppose the marriage. Meg admits that she feels Bruce isn't sincere about marrying her and is only doing it to please his parents. Bruce's parents are upset and ask what's going on. Bruce bravely admits that he is gay. His parents think he's joking until he confirms that he only likes men. Bruce calls Jeffrey and proposes to him in front of everyone, and Jeffrey happily agrees.
Oh, Bruce! Oh, Jeffrey!
Oh! No. No.
The priest says they can't marry in the church because he doesn't consider them normal, so Bruce invites everyone to celebrate at the Walgreens parking lot. There, everyone stands in a circle, witnessing the happiest moment of Jeffrey and Bruce's lives, officiated by none other than the king of comedy, Peter Griffin.
By the power vested in me, I pronounce you husband and husband. You may kiss when you get home.
Well, we just lost the prize.
Meg gives birth in season 22, episode 1. Just hearing the title sounds crazy, right? Especially since Peter once revealed that Meg was born a boy.
Griffin, would you like to cut the cord?
Sure.
Okay, that wasn't the cord, and now you've got a girl.
So how does Meg end up giving birth in this episode? Let's dive into the story. After Stewie's friend's birthday party at Bruce's bowling alley, Meg offers to stay and help Bruce clean up. Bruce is worried because he's out of cat litter to absorb the vomit, but luckily, Meg has a small bag.
You keep kitty litter in your purse?
Well, there's not always a bathroom when I need one. I don't know how you handle all these kids every week.
Meg is surprised that Bruce can handle these kids every week. Bruce said he didn't mind because he loved kids and truly wanted to have a child to raise better than his parents did. Meg encourages him, saying he'd make a great dad, but then she stupidly suggests he try having a baby. I mean, men giving birth? No way. Bruce quietly tells Meg that men can't give birth, explaining that they can't bake a cake without an oven. When he learns Meg isn't seeing anyone, Bruce reassures her, saying at least she can have a baby. Meg has an epiphany and rushes home to tell her parents the crazy news.
Mom, Dad, I'm having Bruce and Jeffrey's baby.
That's wonderful. What do you say we take this party to the top of the stairs?
Top of the stairs. It's not an abortion, it's an oopsie.
Lois and Peter think Meg's idea is insane and forbid her from being a surrogate for Bruce and Jeffrey. Meg is determined, saying Bruce and Jeffrey found an egg donor online.
You can just get hot eggs off the internet? What website?
Lois tries to explain that pregnancy isn't easy and will ruin her life. Meg argues that she's 18 now, so Lois can't stop her. Stewie worries Meg won't be able to eat sushi for 9 months.
Ma, sush? Chris, sush? Meg, no sush. Don't even answer, Meg. She's like, I want sush so bad. I'm like, no, Meg, no sush, babe. Anyway, I'm gonna go out and get some sush. I'll be at CVS.
At the hospital, Dr. Hartman announces that the egg fertilization was successful, and the next step is to implant the embryo in Meg.
Is this gonna hurt?
Not at all. Nurse, wheel in the implantation cannon. You guys are gonna love this thing. A clown died in there, but I think we got them all out.
Back home, Meg is exhausted and sprawls on the sofa, leaving a small space. Peter starts his antics by trying to sit in that small space, eventually using his cat-like skills to sit on the couch. During her pregnancy, Meg craves various foods, and Lois, though unhappy, tries to satisfy her cravings. Sitting near Meg, Peter discovers she farts a lot and quickly leaves.
Well, I am gonna run out of this room now and leave a comedically shaped hole in the wall.
That was already there from Dad's drunk driving accident.
Nope, running from farts.
Peter thought Meg's pregnancy was almost as troublesome as when Lois was expecting, which made Lois angry. She insisted she wasn't worse than Meg. Peter tried to reassure her by saying things would turn out better than she thought, like eating underwear in non-sexy situations.
I can't believe you chose this for your last meal.
Well, I guess we're both shocked today. Okay, fellas, light me up.
He's funny. Now I see why our daughter got in that van.
That night, Meg couldn't sleep and craved something awful. Peter was the only one awake, so he went out to get her some food. He ended up at Papa John's, asking for the worst pizza they had.
Papa John, I'm sorry to bother you, but my pregnant daughter asked that I bring her the worst pizza ever, and yours is that.
You think we're worse than Lunchables?
Yes.
7-Eleven?
Papa John defended their pizza, claiming it was better than Lunchables or 7-Eleven. Peter had to convince him how bad he needed that pizza to be.
The sauce, the bread, the toppings, the way it's cooked, the people cooking it, the way it tastes like the box it comes in, it's really, really the worst. I mean, you even make butter dipping sauce terrible.
The next morning, Lois complained about Meg's pregnancy, wishing she could fast forward to the birth.
Well, team, I tried meth.
Time seemed to fly by, and suddenly, it was Halloween. Peter enjoyed his new game.
All right, guys, looks like I'm really liking meth.
By Christmas, Peter came home deep in debt and needed money to indulge his bad habit.
Hey guys, I need money. Like now. Like yesterday. Like now!
Months later, Peter's behavior was out of control, and Lois sought a lawyer named Marcus to prepare for a divorce.
Hi, Peter. My name is Marcus. Your family has written some letters they'd like to read to you.
You liars!
Eventually, Peter returned to his normal self just as Meg was about to give birth.
Guys, I think my water just broke.
Oh, right. I forgot we were doing that.
At the hospital, Dr. Hartman helped deliver a beautiful baby girl in front of everyone. Bruce named her Liza Judy Barbara and said he'd pick her up the next day.
Dad, Sush, Pepsi Max? Ma, Diet Max, Sush? No? Well, I'm getting some Sush and a Max. I'll be at the cafeteria. Don't get the Sush, guys.
Back home, Lois grew frustrated because Bruce and Jeffrey hadn't shown up to collect the baby after 3 days. Meg thought they might be busy, while Brian reassured Lois that having a baby around made her the hottest grandma in town.
The hottest grandma? The hottest grandma!
Bruce and Jeffrey finally called, saying they could pick up Liza the next day. Stewie revealed that Jeffrey had written a mystery script premiering that night at Cracker Barrel in Sturbridge.
Oh no!
Yeah, but if you's gotta go.
I made this a cutaway so I could see the show.
Peter adored baby Liza, spending hours playing with her. They shared similar views and teamed up well, like TJ Maxx employees.
Hey, where should I put these?
Just throw them on the floor and step on them. That's our founder's motto.
TJ Maxx. Teach your kids to drive in our empty parking lot.
At dinner, Lois tried to show off as the hot grandma by humorously drinking a huge glass of wine, and baby Liza delighted everyone by clapping after tasting mashed beans. This made Peter declare her the most adorable baby he had ever seen, which made Stewie storm off in jealousy.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you almost done?
Oh yeah, no, sorry. I'm doing sets. I'm just doing little sets.
Oh, cool. Guys, he's doing little sets.
Cool.
Lois praised Meg's parenting skills, touching Meg, who admitted that since Liza Judy Barbara was born, her life finally felt meaningful. Just then, Bruce and Jeffrey arrived, and Lois angrily scolded them for being late. However, it wasn't their fault. Meg wanted more time with Liza. She said the baby needed her, and was the first being who ever did. Bruce and Jeffrey argued about the challenges of raising a baby, but ultimately decided to take Liza back. At first, Meg resisted, but when Bruce and Jeffrey assured her she would always be part of Liza's life, she agreed to let them take her.
If you're all alone, when the pretty birds have flown.
No!
That can't be the first time our baby hears ABBA.
That's right. It should be at a jockstrap foam rave in Miami Beach, same as me.
As they were about to leave, Lois tried to stop them, afraid of losing her title as the hottest grandma in town, but ultimately had to let them go as she had no other choice.
Well, I guess that means I can get rid of all my hot grandma merch. I'll just donate it to Goodwill.
You know what GILF means, right?
Yeah, God, I love fentanyl.
You said it, pal.